morning, everybody. Wasn't quite sure what to do this morning. And I have all this yarn here that my sister gave me. It's actually very pretty. And I thought maybe I would freehand and show you how we could make like a bolero or a shrug. That came out real easy. I've never used this yarn before, so I'm not real sure how the striping goes and how it's going to look, but we're going to give it a try. How was everybody's weekend? How was everybody's holiday? I'm going to wait till a few more people get here. In the meantime, I'm going to stitch together some more of this. Give you my speech. This is one of my granny square bags that I've been making. I'm sure everybody's tired of looking at them. That's one. That's one. I have a multicolored one back there. I'm making a bunch of them. Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to start stitching a little bit more of this together until a little bit of everybody else gets here. Because I know they're... Good morning. I'm just going to stitch this together while I kind of give my speech here. And then I think I'm going to work on a bolero today. I think that's what I'm going to do. What do I want to say? I have a link in my bio for my link tree. On my link tree, I have a link to my website, which has a bunch of free patterns for basic amigurumi, basic puppets, some of the accessory pieces. They are all free patterns. The basic doll looks like this, and then we went from this and we made like a cow and a giraffe and a bunny. My cat thinks he's getting something other than what's in his bowl, and he's not. Also, the lives that I do in the mornings, Monday through Friday, usually run 9:45, 10 a.m. I jump on here. I try to do some sort of tutorial or some sort of new project. Good morning, everybody. And those projects I upload to my YouTube channel. So after I'm done with this live today, I will upload it to my YouTube channel under the playlist Nifty Knots Talk, Nifty Knotz, all one word, TOK, like TikTok, because they're my TikTok lives. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much. Do I have... Well, I'm not really sure, like, why that would be pertinent, but I do actually. And my daughter has a pair of docks, which I am totally jealous of, because it's like totally my style. I love her. She's like my little mini me. My mother always said, I hope you get a girl just like you. Well, after 4 boys, I got a girl just like me, and I could not be happier. She is like, thank you so much for all the gifts. She's like, it's a joy to have somebody that's just like me. It really, truly is. You know, we're both a little introverted. We both like to be left alone. And then we both come out and chatter to each other. And then we leave each other alone. And we come out and complain to each other. And then we leave each other alone. And you know, she has pretty much the same taste and style that I do. No, I think you need to go away if you're going to be like that. We are here today. We are going to crochet a bolero. But if, in the meantime, if you guys want to jump over to my bio, if there's something you want to see, you can feel free to contact me on my website or my shop site, or you can feel free to DM me on TikTok. I have links there to my Instagram and my Facebook as well. Yeah, free patterns on my website. Good morning. So yeah, let's get to what I'm doing today. I don't know what everybody else did for the weekend. I got to go down and visit my parents and my kids that live in the city. A couple of them live up here. Good morning. And my son, who's 30, brought me this little garden gnome. So until it gets nice enough for me to want to sit outside, he's going to sit here beside me. He keeps me company with his cup of coffee. Told my son I hope it's decaf. I don't need any caffeine. I make myself crazy sometimes. Okay, so I've seen these around and I like them, and I have made a shrug or a bolero before, but I knitted it and it had like open work like butterflies into it, and I would have to go look for it. So this is the yarn that I'm going to use. My sister, when I had surgery earlier this year, my sister sent me like a care package, and this has been sitting in my bin and I've been dying to use it, so I thought, maybe I'll try this. So I'm going to kind of freehand this. So when you make a bolero or a shrug, I know a lot of people have been making them like little crop tops with the top, but technically your bolero is just going to be the piece across your back and sleeves. So and that's why they call it shrug, because you just kind of shrug your shoulders into it. It's not really a crop top. It's just the back portion that goes straight across your back, and then the sleeves. So it shouldn't be that difficult. And the last one I started in the middle and I worked my way out. So I started in the middle and I worked my way out, and then I worked around my sleeves. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I do want this to be a little bit loose and lacy, but I have a feeling with this yarn that it's going to grow or stretch. So I'm going to use a 4.5mm hook, a little bit smaller. And I am going to make this lacy. I don't know how long I want it. But the first thing you need to know is how long it needs to be around your arms. That's one of the most important things, because the size down your back is going to be determined by the size of your arm, because you're basically just going to make a long rectangle, and you're going to take that long rectangle. Good morning, Janie. Thank you, everybody that contributed. I'm going to make a shrug or a bolero this morning. At least start it if I don't get it finished. Really super simple. I know you guys have seen like the mesh, where it's like mesh and then sleeves and it's really short. I guess you could call that a shrug, but technically a shrug would be just like a back portion and sleeves. So that's what I'm going to do. So one of the important things that you want to, I had mentioned, measure, and I'm going to do this freehand because I'm going to show you that it can be that easy. I love that color, one of my favorites. It's actually, my sister, that one's coming apart, sent me a care package when I came out of the hospital that was yarn and a yarn bowl, and I've been dying to use it. So I thought, well, I wasn't sure what I was going to do this morning. So I pulled this out and thought, well, maybe I'll do one of those because it should be pretty super simple. And oh, you ready for this, Janie? I got to see my family this weekend. My son, who's 30, bought me this little garden gnome. So he's sitting here beside me, keeping me company with his cup of decaf while I crochet. I know it's silly. Thank you for everybody that's joining. This is also one of my favorites. again, we're going to do like a Bolero or Shrug, and I am going to do it a little bit tighter, so I'm using a 4.5 millimeter hook with this. It's supposed to use a 6.5 millimeter, but I don't want it to grow too much. And he's cute. I know. I was like, oh my god, that's like perfect for me. So one of the things you want to measure if you're just going to freehand one of these is the length around your arms. So I don't know if you can see that or not, because basically what you're doing is you're just making a big rectangle, and you're going to stitch it together. You can see where I have. So that's probably good enough for my arms. I don't like things too tight around my arms, so that's probably good enough. Maybe I'll take a couple of stitches out. But you want it to be a little bit bigger, because you're basically, it's just going to be one great big long rectangle, and then you're going to fold in half the two ends for the sleeves, and then the back panel is just going to stay that way. So it needs to be a little bit bigger. Excuse me. It needs to be just a little bit bigger to fit over your shoulders. And it can't be too wide. Like, you can't make it wider in the back to fit over your shoulders, because if you make it wider in the back so it fits over your shoulders, it tends to like fall off. So you want to make it just a little bit longer so that it fits over your shoulders, and approximately the size that you want it to go around your arms. So if I have this as approximately the size I want to go around my arms, maybe even a little bit smaller than that. Take out a couple more stitches, we'll see, and then I'll count them and let you know what I have. But this is just how you would like freehand it. Oh, maybe a couple more. I'll do a few more. How was your weekend, Janie? Alright, so I have to have, because I'm going to do like a treble crochet, and that's American terms. So I have, and I'm going to do a treble, chain 2, skip 2, and another treble. So I have to have multiples of 3 plus 1. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, 8 to 9, 30, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 48, 1, 2, 3, 4, 57. All right, so I have 58. So I'm going to start with 58. 57 actually, so it's going to be 58. I'm going to start with 58. Okay, so since I'm going to do my treble crochet, chain 2, skip 2, and again, I'm working up the back of this first. So it's probably going to be a little bit bigger than I anticipated. But I'm going to work up the back of this first. So, my daughter had I can understand. We don't usually get together either if one of us is sick. So after I chained my multiples of 3 plus 1, I'm going to chain 4 for my first treble crochet, and I'm going to chain 2 for my first chain 2, so that's a total of 6. And I'm going to come down here to the stitch I was holding, because that stitch that I was holding was my first stitch, and I'm going to skip that one, and I'm going to skip the next one. So I'm going to skip 2 stitches, and then I'm going to work my treble into the next stitch. Again, I'm starting like I'm starting in the center of the back and working my way out. Dog rupture disc. Aww, that's really sad. Because I'm starting in the center and I'm working my way out, like this will be the center portion of it. I'm going to skip the bumps in the back, and I'm just going to work the one side of the chain loops. So I'm going to work down the one side of the chain loops and work out to one sleeve, and then when I start the second side, I'll work through the other side of the chain loops and out the other side, and I'm going to skip the bumps on the back. So I got my chain 2, I'm going to skip 2, I'm going to do my treble crochet. We'll see how this turns out. I'm just kind of going to freehand it. You can pretty much do this with whatever you wanted, whatever stitch you wanted. Like I said, it's basically just a big rectangle that you would then fold. So chain 2, skip 2, and another treble. But that was a double. But the last one I made, I think I did, I worked from the center out on both sides, but it was knitted and it had like a very specific pattern in it. They were butterflies, so it had actually called for me to work from the center out, so that's how I did that one. So you can see, like, that's going to be our mesh. Our just open work mesh is just a treble, chain 2, skip 2. You could make your mesh smaller by doing like a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. You could do that as well. But just for the sake of doing something different, because I don't usually use treble crochet, I just figured I would do something different. So again, a treble, chain 2, skip 2, and then I'm going to do another treble. And I'm going to try to get at least the first half of this done today. So treble, chain 2, skip 2, and a treble is just wrapping one more time. So like a double crochet, you would wrap once, and then you'd pull up your loop and then pull through 2 loops at a time. A treble, you're going to wrap twice. So I'm going to skip my 2 chains. So I'm going to wrap twice. I'm going to insert it into my stitch, and then I'm going to pull up my loop, and then I'm going to pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And that is if you've crocheted a while and you're kind of familiar with the way the stitches build, you're pretty much just like adding to the length. So just to show you, if I wanted to add to the length of that stitch and make that mesh even bigger, I could actually go around this hook 3, 4 times. This is just an example. 3 or 4 times, and then I would do the same thing. I would insert my hook, pull it through 2, pull it through 2, pull it through 2, pull it through 2, and pull it through 2, and you see how much larger it makes it. So it makes it significantly larger. So you can really, depending on what design you're making or how you want it to look, you can wrap that hook as many times as you want to get the detail that you want. But for today, I'm just doing a treble, chain 2, skip 2. I'm going to work my way all the way down, and I started with a piece that was multiples of 3 plus a chain 1 for the end, and then I started my piece with a chain 4 for the first treble and a chain 2. So after I chained my multiples of 3, I have to start out with a stitch somewhere, so I would then add another 4 stitches for my first treble. So this was the beginning of my chain. You have to start somewhere, so you have to start with a block to make your mesh. So I did my multiples of 3 plus 1, and then I gave 4 more stitches to add my height for the first stitch, and then my 2 stitches that I was going to skip, And then I came down here, I skipped those 6 stitches and skipped 2 more, and then started my stitching, if that makes sense. Again, I don't have a pattern, I'm just kind of doing this freehand, and we're going to see how it turns out. But just because I like the yarn. And if it ends up too wide and it's sliding off my shoulders there, I will probably just add some stitching to the front of it and make it some sort of lacy sweater. You can pretty much do anything. But the yarn, I really like the yarn. I've been dying to use this yarn. And this is actually what I wanted to do with it. I do market events a couple of market events in the summer. And I don't ever like wear or use anything. Like, I have all this nice stuff that I put out on my table, and I don't ever wear or use anything. And I see some of these women that are just wearing their stuff and using their stuff, and it just looks so nice that they're actually using what they make. So I figured I would try it. So I think somehow I'm off by a stitch, so I'm just going to skip one on that one, and it's not going to matter once we get past this chain loop. Okay, so this is going to be down my back, and it has to be at least the size to go around my arms, if you can see that. And again, I'm going to work from the middle to the end of one arm. So I'm going to then chain my 4, 2, 3, 4, and this should go up pretty fast. Chain my 4 for my first treble crochet. I'm going to add my 2 stitches, skip my two chains, and I'm actually just going to chain right into, or treble right into that treble. And it's going to start creating my block effect. So chain 2, skip my chains, and just treble right in. So it's a pretty easy pattern to follow because it's just a block. The market bags that I do, I probably could have done a market bag. The market bags that I do, I'll show you when I get a little bit further here, are just basically a big, giant rectangle or square with made like mesh like this, and then you just crochet around the edges and gather them to put handles on them and like a border around it. So I'm just going to keep doing this for a few rows. It won't take long for me to do this sleeve, I don't think. Not with this stitch pattern. But again, I'm working from the center out. So this would be, excuse me, the mid back of the sweater. So just pulled my stitch out. So this would be the mid back of the sweater. And I'm going to work my way out and down one sleeve. And again, I'm doing a treble crochet. You want to make sure it's at least going to fit around your arm. Although you could increase it. I mean, you could make like a smaller panel for your back and then increase it on either side. I mean, that would be like a different style to get it for your arms. Yeah, we did get together for the weekend. I went down to visit my family. Yeah, Janie, you're still there. I went down to visit my family, and I don't know if you saw one of the TikTok videos that I had recently posted. Was I went into my dad's art room and like did a scan of some of the current things he's working on. And yeah, trust me, that was just some of the current things he was working on. I probably could have done a 10-minute video just pulling everything out and scanning all the stuff that he's worked on for the winter. But he's got a gallery show coming up in the city this weekend. And I think my mother's just getting tired because she does the majority of it, because like most of us, we don't want to market ourselves or do things. So like my mother tries to do most of the business aspect of it and point them in the right direction. And I think she's getting a little bit tired of that. I think she's having a hard time. Like, you know, she tries to make sure he's on time for things and make sure things are put together the way the particular group that he works with likes it to be. Because of course, like any artist, you want to do your own thing. You don't want to do what everybody else does. And so my dad thinks that he can just do whatever he wants, and the group that he's in doesn't want that. So my mother's getting a little bit tired of the hassle. So that's 4 to go up the next one, plus a chain 2. So that would be my treble, plus a chain 2, skip 2, and I'm just going to treble in the next treble. And that's how this is going to work. Well, I just kind of babble away until we get long enough. So we'll see. He hasn't had much luck the past couple of years with the gallery showings. Not many people have turned out. Not many people want to spend money. So I think he's been a little bit disappointed. He likes coming up here. And he likes doing the festival on the lake. And he makes decent money when he comes up here and does that. So I think that's probably what he's going to end up sticking to after this show. I don't know. I guess it depends. If he makes a lot of money, they'll decide they'll do it again. But if he doesn't, I think he's done with doing that particular gallery show. Then, you know, after 2020, everything changed, so everything was just, it's not the same. In the market and the interest rates, people were more frugal with their money, and unless it's cheap, they really just don't want to spend the money for art to hang on their walls, I guess. I don't know. I'm spoiled because I have walls full of art because my dad paints. He's got one painting in there that's all spools of thread. And it's big. It's giant. It's, I don't know, 22 by 17 maybe. It's a big piece. Oh, no. This gallery show he's doing in the city. They're going to start coming. They'll start coming up here at the beginning of May, and they'll be up here every other weekend. And if I find different markets up here, he'll come with me because he'll start bringing a lot of his stuff up now. But I was talking about the markets, the gallery showings that he does in the city. Like they just haven't been good lately. So I think him and my mother are getting tired of doing all that running around to pretty much follow somebody else's rules and not make any money. But, oh no, he'll be, God willing, he'll still be coming up here for a long time. I don't even want to think about that yet. But I think up here is more his speed. Because we just kind of get to sit out and be social and hang out and chit-chat, whereas, so I'm going to skip my 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that were my initial. The fourth one would be the top of my treble, chain 4 for the treble, and I'll do my last one. So it's coming together. see, it's not how it doesn't really take that long. But anyway, coming up here, again, I'm going to start my row with a chain 4, another for my treble, another chain 2, skip 2, and then treble in the first treble, and just make my way across that way. When he comes up here, he gets to like sit and like be social, because most of the events up here are summertime. Well, they're all summertime events that he comes up to, and we get to put up a tent, and he gets to have more than just a few pieces that are juried, and he gets to sit there and talk to people. He likes to sit and talk. He likes to sit and tell people what he's doing and explain the techniques that he did and why he painted that particular piece of art that he did, where he saw the content, and he likes to be very social like that. So, and when they do like gallery pieces or gallery showings, they're given a schedule of when they can show up, and then when they can sit there, and they're supposed to just kind of be like meet and greeters. They're not really supposed to be all that into it and social. They want it to be like a more formal gallery type thing in the city. And I don't think that's really his speed. He'll tell you he doesn't want to talk to people, and he'll tell you he doesn't want to, be bothered. But when he comes up here and we set up our tents and we're sitting out there for 2 days, he just has a good old time. He sits there and talks to everybody, tells everybody what he did, what the landscapes were, what the architecture was that he painted, whose cat he painted, where he saw the cow that he painted, which is usually up here. So, whose farm he saw the cow at that he painted, whose barn inspired him to paint something. So he, I think he enjoys that. But this is just, I'm working on today. I'm going to do today and tomorrow, or until it's finished. I'm going to work on this Bolero type shrug. Maybe start wearing some of my pieces. Maybe people will be inspired if they actually see me wearing and using my pieces. Thank you for everybody that's joining. Excuse me, how is everybody this morning? And again, in the end, I'm going to go to the top of my chain 4, because I'm doing a treble stitch to make the mesh just a little bit bigger, because I don't want it to be too warm. I want it to be more decorative bolero. And then to start, I'm going to start with my chain 4. That will be my treble. And then I'm going to chain 2, skip 2, and work my treble into the treble. And that's all we're doing across. Boleros and shrugs are easy. They're just listening while working. Oh, thank you. You'll get to go, but you could go back and watch if you want. The tutorials that I do, I try to do something new during the weeks, during the mornings, where I'm like teaching how I would make something, or walking you through the process of how I make something. If you watch some of my other lives, we've done some plushies, and I showed you how I use a basic plushie doll to make pretty much anything. We did cows and giraffes and bunnies. And then I have some basic puppet patterns. We did a couple with puppets. And those are my mornings during the week. And those, these lives that I do in the morning during the week, I then go into YouTube and I upload them. So if anybody wanted to see how I did that project again, or follow me along again, or just click through to see a certain piece or something I may have said, you can go to that YouTube channel, and there is a link. I have a link tree in my bio. So so if you go to my bio, you'll see the clickable link that takes you to, for those of you that know, those of you that don't, it takes you to what's called a link tree, which is basically a list of links that are mine. So if you click on it, if you go to my profile and you click underneath at the link for Linktree, it'll bring up a link to my website, my shop site, the free patterns I have for the basic dolls and the basic puppets. I have a, what else do I have? My YouTube channel. I have a link there that would take you directly to my YouTube channel, so you didn't have to search for it. My Facebook or Instagram page. I'm not all that active on Facebook and Instagram, simply because you don't really draw the audience. But I do post some things there because, like, my mom uses Facebook a lot. My sister uses Instagram. So I will post some of my videos to Instagram, and some of my photos I'll post to Instagram and Facebook. But the links to those are there as well. So you can pretty much find. I also have them, and my website is just a basic website. It is not full of ads or clickbait or anything, videos and things like that. It is just for going into the fourth chain from the beginning. Whoops. And I'm going to treble, and that's how I'm going to end this. It's just like almost like a basic portfolio page. There's a gallery page there. So like when people ask me from markets what I do, I can just say, here's my website, and they can go pull up like my gallery page and look through my portfolio. I have on the first page a list of some of my links. What else? Some of the things I have available in my shop. Again, to start my row, I'm going to chain 4 for my treble, chain 2 for my chain 2, skip my chain 2s there, and do my first treble into the first treble, and work that way across the same way, chain 2 and treble in the next treble. I also have on my webpage a shout outs page. So when I buy patterns, even if I just use a piece of the pattern in something, like I have bought a lot of patterns from one particular designer. Her name's Rachy, Rachy, Newen, and she does like a lot of lacy shawls and things. And I like that, and I don't always want to think, I just want to make something pretty. I want my design to be more the color palette and the type of yarn that I choose. And she makes some really pretty shawls and wraps. So instead of like sitting there and racking my brain, I'll use hers. I have links to some of her patterns there because they're paid patterns, and it's not right to give away somebody's paid pattern. But I do want to at least give them credit. So if anybody wanted them, they could go to that shoutouts page on my website, and they could get the link. An example of why I would buy a pattern to use just part of the pattern is the granny square bag behind me. The only thing that I really wanted from this pattern was the skull. And then the rest of the granny square around it, I just kind of freehanded and did my own. But that's also uploaded on my Nifty Knots Talk on my YouTube channel. We went through how to make your motifs pop like that on your granny squares. we went over a little bit of how to adapt them to make them tilted instead of square. Because to make those tote bags, I have to have them tilted, like on an angle, like a diamond. Like a granny diamond instead of a granny square. So I have the link to her pattern for her skull. Things like that. I like to give people credit where credit's due. But yeah, today I'm just going to try to freehand a bolero here. It's just yarn that I decided I liked. My sister sent me as a care package, and I've been dying to use it because I thought the colors were so pretty. It is, I'll tell you here in a second what it is. And I, by no means, am affiliated with anybody, so I don't get paid to, like, push anybody's products, but I'm going to show you what I'm using anyway. Okay, so I'm at the end, so I'm going to skip my chain 2, just like I normally would, skip my chain 2, and single crochet in the top of that chain 4. Or not single crochet, I'm sorry, we're doing treble crochets today. Treble crochet in the top of that chain 4, and that makes our last block. But this is Boardwalk Promenade, and it is Lion Brand Landscapes is what this is. And it is 100% acrylic. It says machine wash, gentle, lay flat to dry. But it's super soft. It's a little bit chunkier, like almost like, it says it's a 4, which, yeah, I could see that it's a 4, because it pulls thinner, but it looks thicker. Like it looks like a thicker yarn, but it pulls and it works like a pull, P-U-L-L, pulls, stretches, works like a regular worsted weight yarn. So I am almost to the point where I'd want to start my sleeves. So this is basically, for a basic bolero pattern, it's pretty much just a really long rectangle. And you would just work, I like to work mine from the center out. And then when you get, I'm making a bolero or a shrug, like a sweater. So you see we're like, they're all wearing like the fishnet sleeves, and there's either just a piece across the top or there's nothing across the top, there's just the sleeves. That's what we're working on now. It's basically just a long rectangle. So I got a little bit of this I can show you. It's basically just a long rectangle, right? And I'm starting from the center out to the sleeve portion. So from the center out to the sleeve portion. So what you're going to do to complete your bolero is once you have your entire rectangle, I'm just using this sideways as an example, you are then going to take part of it and you are going to fold it over and you're going to stitch it to make one sleeve, and then you're going to leave this portion open. Let me see if I can get my drawing board here. So to make your rectangle into a bolero, you would, let's see if I can get that down far enough you can see it. You would take the portion that you would want your back, right? So you have your whole rectangle here. You have your whole rectangle here, and you would mark off the portion that you would want your back. So if this is the portion you wanted to be your back, this would be your back. And then you would take these and you would fold these over and you would stitch this. I'm going to use some bobby pins just to hold them together. You would stitch this together like this to make a sleeve. And then you would stitch this side together the same way to make a sleeve. and then you would have the open part in the back. So this would be the part that would go across your back. This would be the part that would go across your back, and these would be your two sleeves on either side. So your boleros and your shrugs are really easy. So if you held it open, this would be your back. This would be your back, and then your arms would be your, I know that's a really poor example, and then your arms would be your two arms. I'm trying to see if I have a doll or something laying around here that I might be able to show you a little bit better what that is. Let me see. There used to be a couple old Barbie dolls sitting on this shelf. Let me see if they're still there, and I can give you a better example of how that looks. I think they may have disappeared. Oh no, here's, yikes. She's even more yikes. Okay, but, you know, it'll work for the example. Like I said, my daughter's 18, so these dolls have been sitting there on that shelf forever, her Monster High dolls. Okay, so to make the Bolero fit, so I have something to stand it on. I showed you how you would fold it. So it would fit kind of like this. This would go across your back. This would be, and I don't have it, I should probably just stitch it together a little bit. This would be one sleeve. Let me pin that a little bit better so you can see it. Maybe that'll work like that. So I have pinned where I want my shoulders and my back to end. And then I'm going to pin here where I want my sleeves to be. And I'm going to make this big enough to fit me, but right now it's big enough that I can fold it the opposite way and show you kind of what I'm going to do when I make it my size. And yes, I use bobby pins as pins, stitch markers all the time. Okay, so that's how you would pin it. You would pin it so you would have one sleeve here, and this would be open. So this would be the part that goes across your back, and this part that you pinned, her arms aren't very long. I know she's going to get stuck in all this mesh here. So this part goes across your back, and these are your two sleeves. I know it's a horrible doll to show you an example for, but you can see if I had made the sleeves a little bit shorter. This is like a really odd example. I'm really sorry. Should find a better mannequin. But you can see how she has two sleeves, and then she just has the sweater portion in the very back, and there really is nothing in the front. It's just the sleeves in the back portion of the sweater. Did that help anybody? Or did that just make things seem a little bit like crazier? So you would see, yikes, forgot these were all actually sitting there until I just mentioned that. So you can see how you leave a little bit of room so it kind of comes over the shoulders so it fits over your arms. And then this just kind of drapes across your back. So it's like just sleeves with the back of a sweater. Did that help? Or was that like a miserable example? I should probably find a better example. I'll work on that for tomorrow. Somebody liked it. I can't tell who said, oh, okay. So they kind of help explain like how the pattern is. I promise I will find a better doll or something that I can use as a as an example. But once I make this a lot longer, I can show you. I can just slip it on one side of my body, because just like we took this and we just folded those two parts as sleeves so that that went across the back, I'm going to make it a large rectangle this way. So when I get to the sleeve part of it, this is going to keep going out to be my rectangle. I fold my sleeve part over and stitch it. And then this part would just simply sit on my back. Does that make sense? I'll work on it a little bit more tonight. I'm going to still keep sitting here doing this. If you guys have questions, you can ask. Because I'm going to sit here and do it anyway. And have at least one sleeve done so I can show you by tomorrow. But this is basically what I'm doing. I'm going to do my chain 4 for my first treble, chain 2, skip 2, and treble in my treble. And I'm just going to keep going across. And that's what I'm going to do for the rest of this. Whoops. So tonight I'll work on making at least the first part of this so I can at least show you half and how the sleeves fold up tomorrow. And then get it finished off. Maybe do something funky with the ends of the sleeves. I don't know. Maybe make them bell out a little bit, or put some baubles or fringe on the very ends of them. It's pretty much if you know the shape of the basic garment you want to make, and this is a super simple one since it is just simply a rectangle. You could make this rectangle with any stitch you wanted. I'm just making it with this stitch because it's going to be a little bit quicker for me to finish, and it won't be quite as snug or hot or warm while I'm wearing it. More like lacy and decorative, which is what I'm going for. That way if I wear spring, or if I do like spring or summer shows, I can actually wear something, or if I'm going out somewhere in the spring, I can actually wear something that I made. But this is going to be, I know it's pretty mundane at this point. But I promise for tomorrow's I will at least have the first half of this done so that I can show you how I stitch up the sleeve and then show you how I start the second half. And you saw how I measured it. I just wanted to make sure it fit around my arm. Because if it fits around my arm, like the chunkiest part of my arm, then I know it's gonna, can't grab the mesh there. Darn it. Okay, sometimes things work for me and sometimes they don't. Okay, so you can see, like, if it fits around the biggest part of my arm there like that, I know it's going to work. I know it's going to be the size that I need, because that's basically what you needed to do. You needed to fit around the, you need to measure, you're going to work your rectangle this way, but your shorter side needs to at least go around the biggest part of your arm. And that's really a basic piece, but yet they look so pretty. Like you see those, you see on TikTok they're making the halter tops and the clothes and things like that. They are basic pieces and they are basic shapes, just like these like fishnet sleeves or boleros, shrugs. They're calling them all kinds of different things. So then when I get to the end, I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3. I'm going to crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, because that would be considered the top of my treble, and I'm going to put my last treble in there, and you can see it's come up like a nice little chain 4 would be my first treble, chain another 2 would be my chain 2 that I'm going to skip, my chain 2 that I'm going to skip, and then I'm going to treble in the next treble. And I'm just going to keep working that away until it gets to the point where it's about, so if you wanted to like work along with me and do this, because I won't sit and do this, I mean, I'll sit here and do this, but I won't sit here and keep talking. So you're going to want it to be from the center out to at least your wrist. That's how long you want the first half to be. So you're just making a great big rectangle. And again, this video, when I'm done, I will upload it to TikTok. The stitches that I'm using for this are all American terms. So I'm not sure what this stitch would be in UK terms, but I am wrapping twice, inserting my hook, yarn over once, through the stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 to make the height, just so it's a little bit lacier. If you wanted to do it so it wasn't quite so lacy, so it was just a little bit tighter of a weave, you could do a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. But I'm doing this just like this. And I'll spend the rest of my day just kind of working away at this till I get it to the point where I either want to do something with the end of the sleeves at a cuff, or I just want to leave them flowy, or if I want to decrease them to make them tight. I don't know. I'll decide that after I get my rectangle done. Thank you to everybody that's joining me, everybody that's following me. Today I'm working on just a basic Bolero, basic shrug piece. I have to find a good doll. My daughter might have a stuffed animal I can use somewhere that I can kind of show you to use as an example before this one gets long enough for me to actually show you on myself. Get to the end, 1, 2, 3, in the 4th chain. So you're going to skip your 2 chains, treble on the top there, and it's going to make your last block of your mesh. And yeah, you're just going to keep going back and forth like that. And it will have some stretch and some give to it, but I wish I had a better doll to show this, because it is like the perfect size at this point to show you how you would fold up. So I'm basically going to take this from here out to my wrist, and then I'm going to work from here out to the other wrist. So imagine this is here out to my wrist, here out to my wrist, and then you're going to keep the back portion open, and you're going to bend these parts down as sleeves. So when you bend these parts down as sleeves, this part goes around your back, and you just kind of shrug your arms into the sleeves. Some of them are done like granny squares. I've seen some granny square shrugs. Thank you for all the follows. I know this project isn't going to be too exciting until probably tomorrow when I do the last half of the tutorial. But if you want to see, if you wanted to go back and see how I got it started, again, I chained my 4 for my height, I chained my 2 for my skip 2, and then I just trebled into the next one to start. You can head over to my YouTube channel. My playlist is Nifty Knots Talk, T-O-K. And that is all of the lives that I do where I start a new project and try to start and finish a project in 2 days. So if you wanted to follow along and see how the project was started, if you want to scroll through the video and see how I did something or how I explained something, you can do that with those videos. So like when I'm done here today, probably in about 10 more minutes or so, since I sit here and just chatter away, you can go back to my YouTube channel, and by later on this afternoon, depending on how long I'm on, it takes for TikTok to process the video, and then I upload it to YouTube. So this video this morning that I'm doing right now is live, will be available on my YouTube channel later on this afternoon. So if you want to see how I started that, how I worked the measurements, it doesn't matter how tiny you are. It does not matter how big you are. It is basically the same. Take the measurements on the largest, whoops, that was a double. Take your measurement from the largest part of your arm, because you want it to go around your arm. So your measurement from the largest part of your arm, I'll show you again. Because this is going to be your sleeve. So that's how wide you want it to be. So that's how wide you want it to be. So I'll pull it off just like that. That's how wide you want it to be. And then I'm going to work from the center all the way out to as long as I want my sleeve to be. So it's basically just going to be a big rectangle. And then I'm going to take my stitches when I get my first half of it done the way I want it to be. I will know exactly what I want to do with the other side. I will then just start with my starting chain again, and I will work out to the other side to do the other side of it. By tomorrow, I promise I will have at least one sleeve ready to fold up and show you how to stitch it together so that you get a good idea. Maybe hit the dollar store, find some sort of doll that I can use as a model or teaching tool for things that are a little bit smaller so you can get a better gist of the shape. Thank you for everybody that's joining me. I do this every morning, Monday through Friday, just to try to teach something and do something different. And then I upload them to TikTok if you want to go back and watch those, rewatch those lives, or follow along. In the evenings, I usually jump on and just kind of turn my live on while I'm crocheting whatever I'm doing for the rest of the day. I may finish parts of this, at least just to get the length. I won't finish like the tutorial part. So I get to the end, I'm going to skip 2 chains, and I'm going to chain, or I'm going to treble into that next one, which is the top of my, to give me my last square. Chain 4 for my treble. Chain 2 for my chain 2. Skip my chain 2 and treble my treble. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for everybody that's joining. Thank you for everybody that followed. I don't upload my evening ones, just my morning ones. So my morning ones, I try to start and finish a project in 2 or 3 days. so that you could go back and follow them on YouTube if you wanted. And in the evening, we just kind of chit-chat. There's just a nice little group of us that have gathered to be chatty and hang out and just enjoy each other's company while we're sitting here doing this. But I wasn't sure what I wanted to do today until this morning, or I would have had a little bit more of this done so I could show you. But this is basically what you're going to do, and you're just going to make that big giant rectangle. This is the bottom of my rectangle, almost like a giant scarf. Almost like a giant scarf. I don't have one to show you, or I would pull it out, because that's a good idea. You're going to make, this is the width of it, and you're going to make the length of it from wrist to wrist, or however long you want your sleeve to sleeve. So that's what you're going to do with this, and then I'll show you how to stitch it up tomorrow to make a shrug or a bolero. Crocheted sleeves. They're called a bunch of different things if you look them up, but it's basically the same thing. And this is yarn. I'm really liking these colors. I haven't gotten to like the pink yet though. Maybe pink's next. This is Lion Brand's Landscape. And no, they don't pay me to say that, just in case you're wondering what the yarn is. And it's Boardwalk Promenade is the colorway. My sister sent it to me. And it's 100% acrylic, but it's like super soft and brushed almost. So I thought it might be an appropriate yarn to make a sweater or half sweater. A bolero is actually just kind of like the sleeves of the sweater and the back of it. Then when you get to the last one, you chain your 2. You count 1, 2, 3, 4 would be the top. Skip the 2 there. Work your treble into it. I am using American terms, so that gives me my last. Chain 4 for my height. For my next treble, chain 2 for my chain 2, skip 2, and then treble in my next one, and that's how I turn. I'm not very exciting today, am I, Janie? This is kind of a boring project. It's like saying, let's make a scarf. And you just kind of sit here and do this. But I promise by tomorrow we will be putting it together. And it will look like something other than just me sitting here making a scarf. I'm going to do one more row, and then I'm going to show you some of the other things that I've made and that I've been working on, and then call it a morning, because this is something mundane that you can just kind of sit and keep doing until you get the length that you want. Again, from the center out to the sleeve, and you see I'm like just a little bit beyond my shoulder there, so I will just finish this row, show you some of the other things that I have, maybe do a couple more rows. Well, I'm definitely going to do a couple more rows because thank you for the follow. I'm definitely going to do a few more rows because I want at least this one side finished by the time I jump back on tomorrow, so that I can show you the shape of it and I can show you how you're going to stitch it together, so it's a little bit more interesting than just me sitting here doing this. And then I'll show you how to work from the center and pick up your stitches to start doing the other side. So that'll be tomorrow's. A little bit more interesting than just sitting here. But this is basically your starting chain is going to be multiples of 3 because you're doing 1 and then 2 chains to skip 2, 3 plus 1 for your that's going to end up being your last single or your last double crochet or your last treble crochet. Starting to talk in circles. And then I'll show you some of the other things that we've done if you want to go back through some of the other tutorials. So I'm getting to the last one. And for the last one, again, I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to skip the 2 chains and chain into the top of the 4th one. To give me my last square there. Yeah, so it's getting there. I still didn't hit the pink yet. There is pink in there. I was looking forward to that pink. That just means the pink's going to end up being on my shoulder or on my sleeves more, where I get to see it instead of just the back. So that's basically it. You just keep working like this is a scarf. Like this would be the width of your scarf and the width of your scarf. Just got 2 of my sons to babysit. I love the colors. Thank you. So you're basically going to make like a giant scarf. And then I'll show you tomorrow how we stitch it together. But the first portion of your scarf is the width. The width of it is going to be big enough to fit around the biggest part of your arm. Okay, if that makes sense. So the width, the smaller part, is going to be big enough to go around the biggest part of your arm. The length of it is going to be however long you want it to go down your arm. So I might stop it like around here and then flare it out a little bit. I don't know. So the width is going to be the biggest part of your arm around. The length is going to be from the middle of your chest or your back to however long you want it to come down your arms. So again, I'm going to keep working on that today so I get at least half of it done. And I do start in the middle. You don't have, and I work down one sleeve and then I work down the other sleeve. You don't have to start in the middle. You can just make like this giant rectangle or scarf and just work from it from there. But I am going to I did start mine in the middle because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with the ends of the sleeves. But some of the other things that we've worked on that you can find like tutorial type things on my YouTube channel are the basic amigurumi. I like basic patterns because sometimes you want to do something funky, but you don't necessarily want to think about the basic part of it. So this is a basic doll, and from that basic doll I have to move my 30-year-old son bought me this garden gnome. He's been sitting here keeping me company until I can take him outside. From that basic doll, we did, and these were all uploaded onto my YouTube channel. And I only have 2 here because I gave one away to my grandson. It is the same doll. It's exactly the same doll. And again, free pattern on my website. You make the doll, and I do have the notes for extending the neck and the pattern for the ears and the horns, the muzzle and the spots. And then again, same basic doll. Of course, well, I use blanket yarn for this, worsted weight for this. If you wanted it even smaller, you could use fingering weight to make it teeny tiny. But the blanket yarn, and I do have the pieces to make the cow. as free on my website. The other thing we made out of it was a bunny. Those are things, those were the basic amigurumi ones that we did. So the basic pattern and the pieces are available on my website, free, just like a gallery website. The pattern's just free. And then I also did puppets. I had a pointed nosed basic sock puppet, and I have a round nosed basic sock puppet, and I have both of those basic patterns, just the basic sock puppet patterns, on my website as well for free. One is a rounded nose, and from the rounded nose sock puppets, I don't have the extra pieces to make these on there yet. I only have so much time, but the round nose puppets, I've made cows, which you could pretty much just take the same horns and ears from this cow and put on this to make a cow, but that would be my rounded nose puppet. And then I have my pointy nose puppets that if you wanted to make like dogs or foxes or mice or moles or something like that out of it, you want to think about the detail. You don't want to think about the basic pattern. This is a basic sock pattern for the pointed nose puppet, and out of this one I actually did and are uploaded to YouTube the whole tutorial for the entire puppet, and I went over how I made the teeth three-dimensional. I went over how to do the short rows for the shaping and the fin, and you can always buy the pattern if you want, or you can sit and you can watch the tutorial, because I think I have Shark Puppet Part 1 and Part 2, and I think it does have in the description what we did for the day, whether we did the teeth or the fins or whatever, but that's on my YouTube channel if you wanted to follow that project along. They were also the same as this, lives that, thank you for all the likes, lives that I do in the mornings that I then upload. And then of course my granny squares. I have a couple tutorials on YouTube that are making your granny squares pop. And basically I show you how to take like a basic motif and how you can kind of sort of alter that motif. And I don't have one. Oh, I do have one. How you can alter that motif so that you get a crisp line around it. So you can see all my skulls have nice crisp lines around them. And the only part I left for the jagged teeth. But you can see they are actually... This is my stack that needs to be lined. They are actually part of the granny square. So in those tutorials for making motifs pop on granny squares, I show you how you can alter even the bunny applique that I did. I showed you how to do that one. Teacher, fun to crochet some puppets. Oh yeah, I love to crochet puppets. As a matter of fact, I've already taken to my markets puppets that I've crocheted out of just like variegated funky yarns and put like just googly eyes on them and just sold them like that, and people buy them. People like puppets. Puppets are fun. And the puppets that I have and the patterns that I have on my website are like ridiculously easy. You're just basically going around in circles. I just did all the math for you so that you didn't have to think about it, because that's the part I hate. I hate doing the mundane, like the math, to try to figure out the basic part of it. I want to do the fun pieces. But, and then one of the other tutorials that I did was actually joining my granny square bag, where I showed you how I laid out all the pieces. Although you can find, you can check out my website, you can go to my YouTube, all of those links are in my, if you go to my profile, I have a Linktree link in my TikTok profile, and you can find links to my website, my shop site, my YouTube channel. But yeah, one of the tutorials I did on the one morning was, like, I have a lot of shorts and some videos there, but I do upload these as a playlist. I showed you how to lay out your blocks and how I stitched them together. So that was another tutorial I did. And then I was just kind of running out of ideas, so I thought, because I'm like obsessed with these bags. I could just keep making these bags. I love them. I line them all the way up through the handles. It's like my favorite. I'm such a bag lady that I had to do something different today. So that's why I decided to work on like a bolero and show you how you can take a simple shape and actually make it into something that's wearable and pretty. Yeah, thank you, Miss Margie. I would appreciate that. But that's how you would get to my website and to the other things. You can just go into my link tree for my TikTok profile. But the bolero, again, tomorrow I will have enough of it done that I can show you how that we can take that basic shape and we can actually make it into something when all we did was just make a basic shape. Pattern for the skull squares. Okay, the skull squares, again, that was something that I didn't want to do the mundane thing for. Good morning. How are you? Darlene. I think I remembered that right. The skull squares. If you have questions about the skull squares, some of my tutorials that I have uploaded to my lives, previous lives that I did. Oh, good, I got it right. This is one of them. It's one of the making granny square motifs pop. I do the skull. The skull itself, I bought the pattern for the granny square skull just to use the skull itself. So it was $1.50. I can't really in good faith give out somebody's pattern, but I only bought it just to do this part of the skull. My tutorial goes through how I do make the skull and pull it together so that you don't get like the hole in the center there. And then I showed you in the tutorial how I worked around the skull to make it, to incorporate it into a tilted granny square for the bag. I also showed you how it's just as easy that you could make that into a square granny square as well. But I showed you how to do that so that you get like that crisp outline without having to, without having like all the jagged edges like I do at the bottom for the teeth, without actually putting your stitches through the motif. So if you have questions about the skulls, that's probably the best thing to do is go back through and watch. It's making motifs pop on granny squares, and I think there's a couple of them. And one I know I went into detail with how I did the skulls, and I think I sat there and worked the skulls. One of the other ones I did, I have to take all these off, I guess. One of the other ones I did for the motifs was the bunny that I found. So the bunny that I found, I liked that motif as well. So one of those, thanks. So one of those videos, those lives that I did that I have uploaded to, thank you very much for all the gifts. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the follows. But one of those videos on my YouTube channel, on my playlist Nifty Knots Talk, I explain how I get, again, those crisp edges, because this is really, truly, it's part of the granny square. So I show you how I make it with that crisp edge there, and how I do. It's like really, this one's like really ridiculously basic, simple math. This one's a little, I mean, it's not much too much more difficult. It was just like my corners, I had to do one part of the corner and one stitch another part, because there were more stitches around this. There were like 30 stitches around the skull, but this one worked out that it was like a perfect the perfect 24 stitches will actually give you that perfect square, and you could make it that way or you could make it that way. But yeah, I have both of those tutorials up there on my TikTok channel. Um, Not my TikTok channel, my YouTube channel under Nifty Knots Talk, the playlist. Um, Thank you so much. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then by later on today, I will get. I know I'm going to have such a stack of these to line. It's going to take me all week to line the bags that I made. Um, I do have one of them lined, but that's what we're doing today. We're working on a bolero, which is basically a wide scarf. Thank you. The one that I have done. This is the one that I have. Well, I actually have a couple of them. Some are granny square. Some are like actually like the granny squares. But basically, they have a magnetic closure. They have two big giant cell phone pockets. You can see there's at least as big as my hand, and then the other side has a zipper pocket that is almost as big as both of the other pockets combined. And I put little, this is why it'll take me all week to line them. And then I line up through the handles so the handles don't stretch out either. But, and then what else did I do on some of my tutorials during the mornings? Oh, we worked on dice bag. Thank you. We work on dice bags. I think I have that one here still somewhere. Oh, maybe not. I must have moved. Oh, here it is. I don't have it finished, but it was the basic, it's just like a little dice trinket bag, and it's, when it's pulled together, and I put eyes on it, and, you know, thus my other fins, and I worked through this whole piece on one of those tutorials, and that was the fish dice trinket bag. But I do have little fins that I have to put on them yet, but I just started doing something else. And I went over this one as well, how you can do just like a super basic lining that I sat here and hand stitched that was just, so I went over that. That's one of, I did that in, I don't remember if I did that in one or two videos. So I've got a bunch of, thanks. So I've got a bunch of tutorials up there, and they pretty much go from start to finish, and I explain to you what I'm doing with each of them. So you could pretty much do the project if you can tolerate listening to me babble that long. But like I said, I was going to be here for an hour. I'm almost here for an hour and a half again. But again, today's tutorial is Boleros. I will have it uploaded so that you can listen to all my babbling and explanations. And tomorrow I will have at least half of it crocheted so that I can show you how you put it together and how it will come together to actually be the sleeves, like the short sweater with just the sleeves that you guys see everybody wearing. Okay. Monday through Friday, somewhere around 9:45, 10 a.m. Eastern Time in the United States, I come on and I try to teach something. So tomorrow's second half of this Bolero, maybe even second part of it, depending on how long. Anyway, I will do that tomorrow. Usually later on in the evenings, somewhere in between 6 and 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time in the United States, I jump on just to kind of finish up what I'm working on. Yesterday I finished up my strawberry bags, or at least one strawberry bag. Working on, can't see this one, I don't want to pull it off just yet, it's not all put together, but of course another granny tote, but it's like all pink. And I just kind of sit here and chattered. Good morning, Karen. I just sit here and just kind of babble away at night and just kind of do, you know, just kind of do mundane things. Whereas in the mornings, in the videos that I upload from the mornings, I try to at least teach something and go through a project. All right there. For any of you that have never gone live, TikTok pops up and says, "Great job. You've been live for 90 minutes. Don't forget to take a break." Well, 90 minutes is about my limit anyway. I'm going, and Darlene, I will see you this evening as well because this is like my limit. I've talked myself crazy. And yeah, if you guys wanted to rewatch this one, head over to my YouTube page. Nifty Knots Talk is the playlist. You can find the link in my link tree in my TikTok bio. And for those of you that want to join me and just kind of chatter away tonight, I should be here. Thank you once again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Janie, Darlene, I know there's some of you guys I missed. I try to I'm trying to keep a list so I know like who my regulars are because you guys have like made my mornings and my evenings, and I really enjoy it. But again, thank you so much, and me and my little know me friend here will see you later on tonight or tomorrow. Thanks.